It was a quiet suburban street, the kind where neighbors wave from their porches and the world feels safe, almost untouched by the chaos beyond its borders. The air was filled with the sound of children's laughter, the gentle hum of sprinklers, and the distant bark of a dog. It was the sort of place where nothing bad was ever supposed to happen. In the heart of this idyllic setting stood Sarah Bennett's home, a charming two-story house, its windows glowing warmly against the encroaching twilight, promising comfort and security. But for weeks, Sarah had felt a subtle shift in the air, a sense that something was just slightly out of place. At night, a whisper of unease crept in, a book not where she left it, a flicker of lights, strange sounds drifting down from above. Sometimes she'd find a window open that she was sure she'd closed. Old houses make noise, she reassured herself, trying to ignore the chill that ran down her spine. Sarah, a 28-year-old graphic designer, had worked hard to build a life of independence and peace here. Her home was her sanctuary, a place where she could be herself, surrounded by the things she loved. But her sense of security was about to be shattered in ways she could never have imagined. Unbeknownst to her, she was not alone in her own home. Someone else had found a way in, slipping past her defenses and into her private world. Every move she made was being watched by someone hidden just above her, lurking in the shadows of the attic, studying her routines, and waiting for the perfect moment. The truth, when it finally came to light, was more terrifying than any ghost story or urban legend she'd ever heard. The noises weren't the house settling, nor the wind rattling the old beams. The misplaced items weren't tricks of her imagination or the result of her busy schedule. They were clues, signs of a secret resident, someone who had made a hidden life in the shadows above her ceiling. A man from her past, unable to let go, had burrowed into her life, literally and figuratively, turning her sanctuary into his hiding place. He lived in the attic, fueled by a dangerous obsession, surviving on stolen food and the thrill of being close to her without her knowledge. Sarah went about her days, blissfully unaware of the chilling secret lurking just above her head, never suspecting that her every move was being monitored. This is a story about how the familiar can mask the unthinkable, and how even the safest places can harbor the darkest secrets. For Sarah, the creak of a floorboard would never sound the same again. Each noise became a reminder of how close danger had come. The silence of an empty house would forever carry a different weight, a heaviness that lingered long after the truth was revealed. Sometimes the greatest dangers are already inside, waiting in the shadows, hidden in plain sight, the ones you never see coming, until it's almost too late, until the illusion of safety is shattered in an instant. What happens when your safest place becomes your deepest fear, when the walls meant to protect you hide something sinister? For Sarah, that question was about to be answered, and her life would never be the same again. Sarah Bennett had always been a fighter, never one to back down from a challenge, no matter how daunting it seemed. From a young age, she learned to rely on her own strength and resilience, pushing forward even when the odds were stacked against her. She worked her way through design school, balancing late nights and early mornings, determined to carve out a place for herself in the competitive world of marketing. Her dedication paid off, landing her a top job at a leading firm. After a painful breakup, Sarah poured her energy into building a life of her own. She filled her days with creativity and her nights with dreams of a fresh start, refusing to let heartbreak define her. Buying the house on Elm Street was more than just a purchase. It was her declaration of independence, a bold step toward reclaiming her happiness and her future. She painted every wall with hope, decorated each room with care, and slowly transformed the empty house into a sanctuary, a place where she could finally begin to heal. Yet, no matter how much she tried to move forward, the past had a way of clinging on, lingering in quiet moments and unexpected memories. Her ex, Alex Carter, had been charming at first, funny, attentive, and seemingly perfect. Their early days were filled with laughter and promise. But as time passed, his charm twisted into possessiveness and control, leaving Sarah feeling trapped and isolated. Leaving him wasn't just a breakup, it was an act of self-preservation, a courageous decision to choose herself over fear. She blocked his number, cut off all contact, and made a promise to never look back, determined to move on with her life. Her friends noticed the change in her, a new lightness, a genuine smile. They celebrated her courage and supported her every step of the way. Sarah was thriving, step by step, building a new life and leaving Alex behind, or so she thought. But the shadow of that old relationship was longer than she realized, stretching silently into her new world. It reached all the way to her new beginning, threatening the peace she had worked so hard to create. In her safe haven on Elm Street, the past was quietly waiting, hidden in the shadows, ready to re-emerge when she least expected it. Not as a distant memory, but as a terrifying, hidden reality lurking just out of sight. Sarah's new chapter was about to be haunted by an old shadow, one she thought she'd left behind forever. Alex Carter seemed normal, steady job, friendly smile, but beneath the surface was a deep insecurity that became obsession. During their relationship, his affection crossed into control. He needed to know where Sarah was at all times, questioned her constantly, and invaded her privacy. When she ended things, he didn't let go. The phone calls, the coincidental run-ins, the drive-bys, each incident small but together, disturbing. Sarah tried to be firm, then cold, cutting off all contact. She hoped he'd move on. What she couldn't imagine was how far Alex would go. He wasn't just refusing to leave her life, he was planning to embed himself within it, not as a memory, but as a hidden, terrifying presence. Alex was about to prove he was a man who wouldn't leave, and Sarah's life was about to change forever. The line between past and present was about to vanish. It started subtly, a scuttling sound from the ceiling late at night. Sarah would pause, listening, convincing herself it was just the house settling. But the sounds grew, scratching, thuds, things out of place. Food disappeared, the thermostat changed, her sense of reality slipping. Anxiety grew, her peace fraying. She called an exterminator, no pests, no explanation. The news, meant to reassure, only deepened her fear. If not animals, then what? The noises became more brazen. One evening on a video call, she heard a cough from above. It was unmistakably human. Her blood ran cold. She ended the call, listening to the silence, heart pounding. She knew what she'd heard. The house wasn't just making noises. It was alive with something, or someone, she couldn't see. The whispers in the walls were no longer just in her head. They were real, and they were watching. Sarah's unease became fear. Her home, once a sanctuary, now felt like a cage. She double-checked locks, lost sleep, and installed security cameras. The footage showed nothing, but the strange occurrences continued. Books moved, food vanished, the sense of being watched intensified. The lack of evidence was almost worse than finding an intruder. She felt trapped in a psychological game with an invisible opponent. Then, one afternoon, she saw a face in the attic window. A shadow, a silhouette, gone in a flash. Her heart pounded. Was it real? She knew with gut-wrenching certainty it was. Someone was in her house, someone was in her attic, and they had been there all along. The fortress she built for safety had become a prison of fear. The truth was staring back at her from above, and it was time to face it. Panic seized Sarah, her heart pounding so loudly she could barely hear her own thoughts, but she refused to run, forcing herself to stand her ground despite the icy fear crawling up her spine. This was her house, her sanctuary, and she wouldn't be driven out by fear, no matter how overwhelming it felt. She took a shaky breath, steeling herself for whatever was to come. With trembling hands she called 911, her voice quivering but determined as she explained the situation. Every second felt like an eternity as she waited for help to arrive. The police arrived quickly, their presence a small comfort. They listened intently to her story, their faces serious, and immediately began searching the house from top to bottom. Every room was cleared, each closet, every corner, except the attic, which loomed above them, silent and foreboding. The pull-down ladder creaked open, echoing through the tense silence of the house. Flashlight in hand, an officer cautiously climbed up, his partner standing ready below, both prepared for anything lurking in the darkness above. Sarah held her breath, her body rigid with anticipation, terror and vindication swirling inside her as she waited for the truth to be revealed. Silence stretched on, thick and suffocating. Then suddenly, a shout broke the stillness. "Police! Show me your hands!" A scuffle erupted, a cry rang out, and then came the words Sarah had been desperate to hear. "We've got him!" The officers brought him down in handcuffs, his head bowed, defeated, disheveled, pale, and blinking in the harsh light. It was Alex Carter, someone Sarah never expected to see in this nightmare. He wouldn't look at Sarah, his eyes fixed on the floor, shame and guilt etched across his face. In that moment, her world tilted, reality shifting as she tried to process what had just happened. The whispers in the walls, the strange noises at night, they finally had a name. The shadow that haunted her home now had a face, and it was one she recognized. It was a face she knew all too well. The nightmare she'd feared was real, and it had been hiding just above her head. As the police led him away, Sarah sat in the quiet aftermath, relief mingling with unease. It was finally over, or so she hoped, her mind still echoing with the memory of that knock on the attic door. The attic revealed a portrait of obsession. Alex had made a bed from old blankets, stockpiled stolen food, and run an extension cord for a lamp. Most chilling was his peephole into Sarah's bedroom. He told police he couldn't accept she'd left him. Watching her was his way of staying close. He'd used a secret key, planning to stay only a day or two, but days became weeks. His secret existence became routine. He studied her schedule, sneaking down only when she was gone. He read her mail, listened to her calls, lived as a ghost in her home. This was not love, it was a campaign of control. He wasn't trying to win her back, he was refusing to let go. The police report detailed a man lost in a dangerous fantasy. Sarah's privacy had been stripped away, layer by layer. The aftermath was a storm of emotions for Sarah. Her sanctuary now felt contaminated, every corner tainted by his presence. She couldn't sleep in her own bed, haunted by the memory of his peephole. She stayed with friends, feeling like a refugee from her own life. Alex faced charges, stalking, breaking and entering unlawful surveillance. He accepted a plea bargain and a permanent restraining order. But legal walls were easier to build than emotional ones. Sarah sold the house, moved to a new apartment, and sought therapy. Healing was slow, but she found strength in work, friends, and her own resilience. The journey wasn't linear, but the shadow of Alex faded with time. She learned to trust again, starting with herself. She was a survivor, not a victim. Her story became a testament to her strength. Sarah's story is a chilling reminder. Our instincts often speak truths we're not ready to hear. She felt something was wrong, noticed the small changes, and trusted her intuition. That voice wasn't paranoia, it was self-preservation. We trust in our homes, our routines, our safety. But dangers can creep in silently, hiding in forgotten spaces. Her ordeal shows the importance of listening to our gut. It took courage to make that 911 call, to face the unknown. That decision marked the moment she took her power back. In the end, this is a story about resilience. For Sarah, the silence of her new apartment is peaceful, a chosen silence. True safety isn't just about locks, it's about trusting yourself. Her story is a lesson. Listen to the whispers, trust your intuition, and face the shadows. Sometimes the only way out is to turn on the light.